All right, so um, I know I'm wearing an ICP jersey. I don't really give a shit. Um, so I want to get into some albums that would help you get into metal if you're not already into metal. Um, I'm using some basic, broad examples from my childhood. Please bear with me. This is my first video. I'm gonna list some off that I don't have on vinyl, but would definitely helped me get into metal like when I was a kid. One, Drowning Pool's Sinner, very broad. You probably know at least one of the songs off of it, which is Bodies. Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor. One, nothing bothers you. There's also good songs off of it. Some other ones, Tearing Away, that was really popular when it came out. It was used in the WWE Day of Reckoning, I believe, for the Nintendo GameCube trailer. Sinner was another one. The only thing I can really think of is used in the end of the one, that 2001 Jet Li movie, Jason Statham, where like Jet Li has to fight each other. It's not really important, but anyways, that's a good album as far as getting into metal because it borderlines on mainstream hard rock as well as like the 2000s radio metal, which there was a lot of bands from that period like Saliva, Disturbed, you could even say Puddle of Mud, Drowning Pool, Godsmack, Mudvayne, Papa Roach, Powerman 5000. But that's a good one because like all throughout it stays constant. Yeah, the album is a little monotonous, I would say, but overall it's actually a really good album. I still listen to it to this day. I mean, there's a lot of good songs on there. It wasn't the radio hits. Like the album does start off with a good way of getting you into because the album starts off with Center, goes into Bodies, goes into Tearing Away, and then there's more songs like Pity. I think it's like the sixth song on the album. It's a really good album, or it's a really good song off the album. It's just a really, really good intro to radio metal. It's also good if you're not into metal. It can introduce you to more things, but it's a good starter if you're not already into metal. It can kind of help you. Actually, all these albums kind of help you get more into metal somewhere. It can kind of help you like find what you're into. Like me, I'm more into thrash. I've kind of like a thrashy death, like with somewhat of a, I wouldn't say lower production value. I would just say more of like a more raw style. Next one, Godsmack's their first album, great fucking album. Like, it's, does it hold up today? No, but with people our age, yes. Because first off, you got Voodoo, Bad Religion, Time Bomb, whatever, all good songs. Going Down, I believe, was also off that album. Yes, Going Down was off that album. Um, Honestly, Godsmack's first three, four albums, good albums to get into with metal, especially radio metal. Like all of the albums I'm going to use, they're not obscure black metal. One, I'm not really into black metal. Two, I think going into like a really, really, really heavy metal to get someone into metal is really hard to get into. You don't want to do that. Honestly, it scares people away. But Godsmack's first album, the reason being is because A, it does have all the radio hits on it. You've got Bad Religion, you've got whatever, you've got Voodoo, you've got Time Bomb, Going Down. It's just a good basic album to get into. Now, so my favorites for metal. Here we go. I'm going to go away. I'm not going to go away, but I'm going to lean over and get my vinyl real quick. So, for metal, number one, System of a Down, Toxicity. Why? One, we've all heard the song Toxicity. Even if you don't know the name of it, you've heard the name or you've heard the song. It's the ones like, Conversion, Software version 7.0, Looking Through Eyes, Live Tire Hub. Yeah. I got this album when I was like 11 or 12. 10 or 11, actually. I don't know. I know it came out in 01. I was 10, but I don't remember when I got it. Anyways, one of the first examples of an album I listened through all the way through that wasn't like something my dad played in like the truck or the car. Great album. Like, first off, Prison Song, first song on the album, gets you into it. It's like really kind of like it's heavy if you're not into metal already. I mean, if you are into metal, then you shouldn't be watching the video. But if you're not into metal, it's kind of heavy, but just keep going because the whole song, like most of System of a Down, is very political. But if you're not into like the political lyrics, don't listen to it honestly, but they're kind of catchy. But it's just a good album to get you into metal. It's like a nice little intro to like what they were classified as new metal, but they're not really because they don't really rap. They more or less, like Serj Tankian, more or less talks and sings the lyrics. You've also heard Chop Suey off that album because it's the one, it's like, you know, life's a rolling suicide, or whatever the fuck he says in the beginning of the video. You know, it's just like, I don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide. You know, whatever. That song, just because of how overplayed and how many times I played on fucking Rock Band, I don't really care for it. But like the other songs on there, Aerials, Atla, Science, Shimmy, Pogo. Pogo is actually really funny. It has no real message behind it. It's just about I think it's about his dick, but it's about a bunch of girls who just want to see a dude's pogo stick and want to show him trick. You know, she had so many friends. It's a really short song, but it's really funny. But yeah, System of a Down's Toxicity, great album to get into if you're not into metal already. Another one, Van Halen 1. Now, do I think Van Halen's metal? No, I don't. I don't think Van Halen's ever been metal. That's just my opinion. I think they're hard rock. I think they helped usher in metal to an American audience. But, I mean, when you have bands like Motorhead, Judas Priest, Venom, Saxon, already doing metal in the UK, Van Halen's not really metal. Like, but do I think they're glam? No, not at all. Especially with how experimental they got on Fair Warning. No, they're not glam. Now, do they go poppy? Yes. But that's also a combination of David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen both kind of at that point fighting, because David Lee Roth at that point wanted to do rock, whereas Van Halen wanted to do more with like the synthesizers, which got used in 1984, which was also like part of the reason why after 1984 David Lee Roth left, which is funny considering that later on in their career David Lee Roth was more on the synthesizers and all that bullshit, and Eddie Van Halen wanted to do a rock album. It's quite hilarious. It's quite hilarious, especially if you follow David Lee Roth's like fucking career. Not a point, but yes, because you've got on this first album, you got Run with the Devil. You've got the cover of You Really Got Me. You've got Eruption, which is a great guitar solo. You've got, I can't really explain it. It's a good hard rock album. It's very solid, very good production. If you're into metal, or if you're wanting to get into metal, this is a great album to start out with as well. Just very hard. So next up, White Zombies, Astro Creep 2000. Now, everyone has probably heard More Human Than Human. It's the song, if you're ever going to like popular rock radio and you think it's Rob Zombie, it's actually White Zombie. It's fucking more human than a human. You know, I am Electric Head. Now, why I say it's the good rock album. So I got this when I was in grade school. I was in 5th grade. I knew More Human Than Human only because of Rob Zombie. I was really into Hellbilly Deluxe, but I also really liked More Human Than Human. Plus, I was trying to date this goth chick in grade school. It didn't work. But anyways, great. That's another album I listened to all the way through. Great fucking metal album. It's hard. It's thrashy. But it's also got groove metal influences. It's got industrial. It's got some doom a little bit. The last track, Blood, Milk, and Sky. But overall, good metal album to get into. It's a very, very kind of covers all the basic like metal influence. Well, just good modern album to use. I can't really explain why, but it is a good one. Sorry. Def Leppard's Pyromania. Now, it's not poppy. I mean, it's more poppy than High and Dry, and it's more poppy than their first album, On to the Night, but it's not as poppy or as long as Hysteria. It's still a good album. You've got Too Late for Love, you've got Photograph, you've got Rock of Ages, got Foolin'. It's just a really good hard rock. They got classified into glam metal. They're not, but they got classified into it. It's a good metal album. Or hard rock / metal album. It's a good... So, for me, metal doesn't mean it has to be heavy, because I'm getting ready to use an example of that, but there's so many classifications of metal, especially if you're just getting into metal. You're going to realize, especially if you like just Wikipedia metal, how many subgenres there are of metal, and then if you click on that genre, there's even more subgenres of that subgenre. Great example would be thrash. Like, for me, personally, there's a few subgenres of thrash. Like, you have standard thrash, and you also have crossover, which, like, takes the hardcore and the thrash metal and combines them, which is funny because thrash metal is already a subgenre of the new wave British heavy metal, as well as hardcore, but crossover has a little bit more of hardcore stylings. I'll get into that into another video, maybe. But yeah, Def Leppard's Pyromania, good album. Right. AC/DC's High Voltage. This is an album I played a lot as a kid. My dad had it on cassette. Used to listen to it a lot. I really liked it. It's very basic. AC/DC's probably one, if not, to me, the best hard rock band out there, because they don't go into a lot of, like, prog or instrumentals like Led Zeppelin does or Pink Floyd. Well, Pink Floyd already being prog anyways. But High Voltage, very, like Ozzy said, AC/DC is a very meat and potatoes band anyways, but High Voltage, probably one of the best hard rock albums out there from start to finish. Don't care. I don't think there's honestly a bad song on there. It's just good. It's just good to get you used to, like, this hard, kind of, like, heavy, somewhat fast playing. If you're a fan of AC/DC and you haven't checked out Let There Be Rock, that's also, like, one of their fastest fucking albums they've put out. With Bon Scott anyways. Once they got with Brian Johnson, they kind of slowed shit down, got into a more of, like, overproduced kind of commercial sound, except for Fly on the Wall from 85 and Flick the Switch 83, where they wanted to try to do something themselves. Those, also two of my favorite AC/DC albums, just because of how raw and, I wouldn't say personal, they're good. I think they're good albums. Critics, fans, no. Me, yes. Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe. Now, no, I've already used White Zombie, but this is the album he put out after Astral Creek 2000. Has a lot of the commercial hits on it. Dragula, Living Dead Girl, Super Beast, Demonoid Phenomenon. Actually, if anybody who's watching this, if anybody does watch it, has ever picked up Rob Zombie's deluxe edition of Hellbilly Deluxe, if you notice there's a DVD in there. It actually has a video for every fucking song on there. Every song pretty much is pretty accessible. It's very mainstream. There's nothing on there besides like Demonoid Phenomenon that's not like really heavy, but it's just a good fun little album, especially if you're trying to get into metal. It's not the heaviest album ever, but it's just a great album if you're trying to get into metal at least. Metallica's Black Album. Now, any true metal fan, well, true metal fan will tell you that Metallica's Black Album is the album that Metallica sold out. They were terrible. Bloody fucking blue. Now, here's the thing. I heard the Black Album, and honestly, a lot of songs off of Load and Reload from the radio, before I ever heard any of their thrash metal shit. Like, yeah, I heard, like, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and I heard One, and I heard probably Welcome Home and Master of Puppets on the radio when I was a kid. But Black Album, my dad had it. I listened to it constantly. This is another album that has no bad songs off of it. First off the start, the Sandman or Enter Sandman, you hear it and you're just like, oh, okay, I know this. And then Sabbath True, you hear the beat of it, and if you don't know Sabbath True, you at least maybe recognize the song or the beat from American Badass from Kid Rock, if you're young enough to remember when that was all over the fucking radio, or if you're a wrestling fan, you remember it. From there, Holier Than Thou, I mean, it's not a terrible song. It's not my favorite song off there, but it is a good song. I will say that, like, as I've gotten older, I appreciate it a lot more. Unforgiven, very ballad based, but also goes a little heavy. What's the next song off that one? Wherever I May Roam. It's got a nice little Chinese intro with it, or a nice little, I wouldn't say Chinese, but I mean, you would get not reference, but you would get like what I mean if you heard the song, because it's got very like, I hate to say Oriental, but I don't know really what other word to use with it. It's just got a nice little like Asian, Chinese, Oriental type of like influence with it. Don't Tread on Me. That's actually a really cool kind of song. It's got like a very nice like kind of like walk almost kind of beat to it. Through the Never. Through the Never is actually like one of the few thrash metal influences that it has on the album. They don't really go a lot into thrash metal like they used to on that album, but Through the Never does do that, as well as Struggle Within. And My Friend of Misery, kind of. Nothing Else Matters. Not really a metal song. It's very ballad based. Unlike, I mean, like Unforgiven has ballads as well, but Nothing Else Matters. Very, very, very just slow, kind of pretty, I'd almost say. Wolf and Man, another kind of like thrashy song, but it's also like really hard and really radio accessible. God That Fell, kind of doomy, but it's also kind of like really awesome. Because I mean it's not that like they're atheists or anything. It's not like they hate God. James Hetfield pretty much wrote that when he was going through like the loss. I think it was with his mother. It was somebody he loved. Pretty much they died, and he was like, God felt. My Friend of Misery, not a clue. Pretty good song though. Struggle Within, Buried Alive, pretty good song. I'm going to use one more example. I'm going to take you with me, actually. Yes, there's a rebel flag in there. No, I don't give a shit. I was trying to hide it throughout this video, but I realized that when I moved, someone saw it, and I'm not recording the whole fucking video again over that. Alright, so, record collection. And I'm only doing this because it's very, very fucking important that you all see this. But I haven't, I want to show it off. Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Now, why this is being shown. Black Sabbath's Paranoid is probably one of the most important fucking metal albums. Actually, this is the most important metal album of all time. Some people would say that it's not. Well, let me tell you something. They're wrong. On one album, you've got Death. Or not Death, sorry. Death hasn't even been invented yet. Sorry, that'll... next video. You've got doom metal. You've got thrash metal. You've got heavy metal. You've got somewhat of their folky type of stuff, but it's not prevalent. More like Fairies Wear Boots kind of has it. But Planet Caravan's kind of hippie, but it's still like short, so it's not like, stoner rock. Still, Black Sabbath Paranoid, definite fucking album to get into if you're trying to like do an intro to metal. So yeah, those are the albums that I could think of that I could remember off the top of my head that would be like good intros to metal albums. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you watched. Don't judge me for the Rebel Flag from the South. Don't judge me for the fucking ICP jersey. I like ICP, not a Juggalo. Anyways, thanks.